Hi, my friends. Today I am painting an avocado with gouache paint. So if you want to learn how to do this, it's pretty simple and fun. A lot of brush strokes. Let's get started. All right, I'm starting off with my sketchbook here. It's Tu Muerta on Amazon, and it's 50% cotton. It's lovely. And it's a great little sketchbook just for doing this kind of thing. So we're starting off with our basic sketch of an avocado. And if you think of your basic shapes, we're going to be doing an oval here. And yet at the top, it looks like there's a half circle as well. So connecting the half circle with the half three-quarter oval, whatever you'd like to say. And if you think of an egg shape, but that gets thinner towards the top, you could do that. We're gonna do our avocado seed, and I'm making it a round shape. It's a little bit pointed at the top. If we don't like it, we can always make it more round. But we're not going for perfection. We're not going to do a perfect circle. We're just gonna add the basic shape in the way that we know how. So now that we have our sketch handled here, we are going to use our number 6 round. I've got my paper towel, and this is my butcher tray here. It's a metal tray, spraying down my paints and my butcher tray of colors that I've used previously, and we just reactivate them. With gouache, we want to go thicker. We can go thicker. It just allows us to layer really nice from light to dark and back to light again. But right now I'm going to mix up some of my greens. So I'm adding in some of that. I added in some of that cadmium orangey yellow in there, and then I'm adding in some lemon yellow, which is going to give us a lighter, brighter shade. The cadmium has red in it, which mixes with the green and kind of tones it down. And I've added some more green to this pile of green. There's some brown on there. So we're just going to use what we have. Most of my colors on the palette, as you can see, are really intense. And so sometimes we just want to mix things around and make things less intense until we get the shades that we want. So I'm loosely sketching in. I'm holding this brush really lightly. I've got some of that lighter green on the left side, and the right side is just a little bit less of that yellow intense color, but almost the same. Doesn't really matter. This is our underpainting, our first layer, and we're just blocking out the shapes. So going around the seed area, and as you can see, I got a little bit of a medium green there, and that's fine too. As you can see, I'm not being very intensely careful at all. Since I'm holding the brush lightly, I'm going to have a more of a wonky kind of edge to this fruit. Avocado is a fruit. So rather than having like really straight lines, and we're going for a painterly look, which means we're going to see our brush strokes, and we want to see our brush strokes because it just gives interest to the painting. And so being able to also paint loosely, you're going to hold your brush in that loose way. So now I'm going to do, I'm adding in that reddish brown with a dark chocolate brown color for our seed, going really dark. And then we can add in some lighter paint for the highlights. And of course we would do all that once everything is dry. Now, because we're going to get some bleeding, as you can see, which I actually think looks kind of cool. And that's just a beauty of when you have water in your paint. You see that I'm painting with pretty thin amounts of gouache, and so it shows up more like a watercolor, but I'm also wanting to have spreadability. And so if your paint is too dry, which this is a Holbein gouache, and it tends to be pretty thick, and you have to do you do have to add in a good amount of water sometimes to make it spread. So we're gonna mix up now a darker shade of green, and that's gonna be for our edge of our avocado. So I've got some of that kind of it's a turquoise color mixing. You can mix in some brown, you can mix in some red to start to desaturate that, adding a little bit more of that light green color as well. Now at this point you might be thinking, Tammy, what are you doing? You are adding so many paints in to each other so quickly. Here's the thing, use what you have. You do not have to match the value, the shade that I have here. As I'm using the tip of my number 6 round brush, and I'm just tracing the outline, which is, we're gonna show that edge where the outer skin is, as we have this cut avocado here. And I'm not being careful, I'm just allowing myself to do tiny little brush strokes so that I can continue with that painterly look, but I have that outline, and I'm not too worried about having a continuous line, if that makes sense, because I really do like the look of that. And then we'll just do a little bit of dark here on the edge of the seed, why not? and we can then take some clean water and blend that out. So use the colors that you have. You can use them in their original intensity if you want, but I just want you to have fun with this. I'm mixing together because I don't know exactly what I'm wanting in the moment. And as I mix together, I start to decide, okay, this is the shade that I want. This is the color that I want. I just blended out that right side there with some clean water. And so we have a little bit less of an intense brush stroke. Okay, I'm going to grab some white and utilizing that with the brown that's already on my palette, just kind of mixing. I've got now a gray. I'm going to add some more brown. What I'm looking for is a medium brown color that will be the highlight for the pit, for the seed of the avocado. So remember, we're going for brush strokes here. So I'm just going to paint on just a few little strokes, maybe one on the left, one on the right there, and just kind of leave it. Leave it for now. Allow it to be bold, and we'll continue on with adding in our layers. So because this is gouache, we can do light to dark, dark to light, and it'll show up. All right, I'm adding in just a few little brown marks here with kind of a little curve to it. And that also is nice because it shows off the contouring of this object, and maybe a little bit more in the pit there. Okay, rinsing off my brush. And friends, I hope you are having fun so far. I'm certainly having fun here. Adding in some white now to my green. I just want to lighten up this green. I want to have a nice light color that I can start adding in some more lines here. And I don't have a rhyme or reason necessarily for this, just putting in the marks where I think it looks nice. And the great thing about gouache, not only that you can layer, but that it's just a bit different than watercolor. If you're used to doing watercolor, that you have to start to expand your toolbox on how to use it, how to keep it from drying out, how to be able to put enough water so that you have a thick enough layer to have that layer show up and not be transparent like watercolor would. So here's the part of the video where I tell you to check in to see how are you feeling about your artwork. I'm going around the seed right now, just darkening up some spots and maybe reshaping that circle that got a little wonky. But as I'm looking at this, I'm going to ask myself, what do I like about what I see so far? Do I like the sketch that I made? Do I like the colors that I chose? We're going to do a little bit of a shadow. We're adding in some grayish color, and we're just going to do a little bit of a shadow outline on that right side. And so if you are not sure that you like it, just go ahead and think about one thing that you do appreciate. Being able to focus on some positivity is going to help encourage you to continue on your journey of learning, whether it's watercolor or acrylic or gouache, whatever it might be. All right, so now I want to add with a larger brush. This is a number 12 round brush. I want to add in a background. So I'm just grabbing some sky blue color that I have on my palette already, working really quickly, and I'm going to try not to mess with the avocado and touch the paint that's already there if I can help it, because I don't want to start scrubbing that and then that paint starts to lift or blend together with my background. So we're just going to work fast here, and as I put the paint down, I dip into water, I dab it on my brush, and then I spread out the paint. Man, this little avocado just makes me so happy. One thing I want to say, if you are not satisfied with your painting, work on your sketching skills. If you feel like you're not loving the shape of something, it's not turning out like it looks exactly, either proportional wise or whatever, doesn't look like the object you're trying to paint, it could be an issue with sketching. I always like to say that sketching gives us such a great foundation. If you have a good sketch, you're most likely going to appreciate the painting that you did. I'm going to take this clip off just so I can paint this corner. We'll add a little bit more color, a little bit more water. And I'm even going to add some water over the top of some of the places to push the paint away so that I can get some nice little texture and blooms. I really like that texture. Some people try to shy away from the blooms. Right here, I'm adding that water, and it can be really pretty for a background. So sketching is going to give you that basic shape, that outline of the thing you want to paint. And then sometimes it doesn't even matter what colors you use. I've seen some artists will paint animals and then they'll just start filling in the various areas with rainbow colors. And it actually looks quite quite beautiful. All right, I've allowed this to dry. Now we're getting back into it. We're just gonna darken up a few spaces. We are almost done with this painting. If you are enjoying this painting at this point, would you mind just giving this video a like? It lets me know that you enjoyed it. Leave a comment as well if you have any tips or advice or just information, thoughts in general. I'm darkening up my shadow with a little bit darker gray color. And I did a little oopsie there, but that's okay. I'm holding my brush lightly. It's going to give me less control, but I can kind of fix that there. No worries. So I just want to have a little bit of an outline so that shadow just really makes that fruit pop off the page. All right, let's go ahead and add in some of that lighter green color, mix it up really nicely with that brown. So I'm just wanting to do a little bit of a darker green for a few more brush strokes on this avocado as we're starting to finish this up. And you know what? I think what I want to do, I'm going to dab my brush on paper and I'm just going to dry brush. Dry brushing is beautiful. It allows, when your brush is starting to run out of paint, it gives you that really nice textured look because your brush is skipping along your paper, especially if it has texture like this watercolor paper does. All right, darkening up my seed just a little bit more. Had a little bit of bleeding again on that right side, but I think it looks kind of cool. So a little bit more paint here on the left side. Sometimes you just need to go over the spots you already did. We're doing layering. We're utilizing the beauty of gouache as much as we can by layering, knowing we can go from dark to light if we need to as well. So a little bit of that yellowy green there on the left side. And like I said, lots of brush strokes are still there. That was the purpose of this video, so that we can utilize the painterly look I love so much. Adding a little bit of splatter over the top and you're done. Happy painting. I'll see you guys in the next video.